Brodes Media.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Not happy. The Bats cannot get the timely hits once again, and there were chances to do it. That eats me alive. Before we hop into the action and breaking down this game, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That would mean the world to me. Lastly, every Wednesday on my Twitter page, @Brodes81, I run a Hump Day giveaway. I'm giving away a Ben Simmons City Edition jersey. It's a no-brainer to head over to my Twitter page. It's pinned to the top. Enter to win. It would be foolish not to. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. I thought Andrew Knapp was going to do it. I swear to God, when I saw the ball leave the bat, I thought it's over. 3-run walk-off by your franchise guy, your go-to player. I was honored to sit there and sink or swim with the clutch Philadelphia Philly up at the dish, and unfortunately, he was just a couple inches away from delivering. And I thought the postgame was very interesting because Ricky Bo, who we all know is filled with a ton of passion and a ton of juice surrounding this team and this game in general, and he said, I've been on the other side. I've been Garcia. When you let go of that pitch and you know it's not the pitch you want it to be, and you know it's not going to be executed the way that it needs to be, and you let one hang around for the opposing player to take it for a ride, Andrew Knapp missed. Andrew Knapp had it, and he did not pounce on that opportunity. So that was an advantage Knapp, and he failed. Now, he brought it up to Ben Davis during the crossover, and Ben Davis was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but along the lines of, Ricky, come on, man. I mean, he was like centimeters away, and I kind of tend to lean towards Ricky Bo. Look, what are you supposed to do when a team makes a mistake? When a pitcher throws a ball that should be annihilated and you don't crush it to the full potential, well, then you messed up. Guess what? You screwed up. Andrew Knapp, that's a pitch you got to drive, man. That's a pitch that should go all the way to the concourse. But he missed it. Now, look, the Phillies did not deserve to win anyway. They did not pounce on previous chances. For example, third inning, Odubel Herrera gets a leadoff single. Torreyes gets on base. Zach Eflin could not bunt the runners over. Andrew McCutchen ends up striking out with the full count. And then there you go. There goes that potential spot to put up some runs. So bottom third, nothing. Bottom eight, Odubel Herrera, leadoff walk. And you could see him clapping. You could see him trying to bring that energy, trying to bring that vibe to the team because the previous night, this team went on a ride and had a rally in the eighth inning to score 7 runs. So you start off that inning with another scenario just like it. A similar thing all occurs. And you think, okay, here we go again. Okay, this team is in position. Torreyes with an 0-2 count gets a single. Now it's first and second, 0 outs. And what do you know? Brad Miller ends up grounding out into a double play. What you can't do. You can't ground out in a double play there. He does. It moves a runner to third. Andrew McCutchen ends up roping one to Rojas with 2 outs that could have scored a run. It was definitely squared up nicely. And this is already after Andrew McCutchen hit a home run for his 250th of his career. And this thing was so crushed, I thought it was 2012. I swear to God, I was watching Andrew McCutchen with the cornrows and with the long hair, with the dreads and the Pittsburgh Pirates uniform on. That's the version of Andrew McCutchen I saw when he put the bat on the ball, when he barreled it up down the left field line. Curling as it was staying fair. Magnificent. Could have scored a run, but Brad Miller, that can't happen. Now, I saw the reaction on Twitter about this team in that moment, and I think it's so damn funny. There's a crowd, and it's a loud minority, but there is a crowd so disappointed in the Phillies for Brad Miller not bunting those guys over in the eighth inning. In what universe do you watch baseball today and think that that was going to happen? Your expectations are just wrong. This is not 1982. This is not 1973. There's a reason why we just saw another no-hitter. There's a reason why Corey Kluber just had a shutdown game for the New York Yankees right after a no-hitter just happened. It's the way baseball is played. So if you're sitting there saying to yourself, you know what, Brad Miller has to bunt them over to move them over, you're just uneducated on the way the game's played. Whether it should or shouldn't happen, that's a different discussion. Whether the game should be this way or shouldn't be this way, that's not the conversation I'm trying to have. If you're just flabbergasted and you're just sitting there in filth with so much disgrace with this team for not doing it, they were never going to do it. Doing it was never on the table. It was never an option. So to think that it possibly would have been, well, shame on you. It would not have been. So stop screaming about bunting players over other than the Zach Eflin situation, because that's different, which, dude, that's part of your job as a pitcher, and I know they're going to fail, and there's a reason why they don't swing the bat very well. That's a crucial part of the game that could have knocked in some runs, that could have helped explode this offense. We saw sometimes it only takes one or two things for a snowball effect to happen and multiple runs to occur. Talk about, no pun intended here, I just mentioned the snowball effect, but putting up a nice snowman on the scorecard. I do that sometimes in golf. You don't want to do that in golf, okay? But if you did that in a baseball game, that's magnificent. And who knows what could have happened if Zach Eflin did place down a bunt somehow, some way. But he didn't, and it failed. But going back to the 8th inning, to expect Brad Miller to do that, that's just ridiculous. I think it does show you, though, exactly where this team is when I watched Nick Maton pinch hit in the 6th inning against Rogers, and you're going lefty-lefty. And you're looking at these lefty-lefty matchups, and you can go down the list of Nick Maton's numbers against lefties, but there's only, at the time I looked during the game, about 17, 18 at-bats against a lefty, so it's not like there's enough of a sample size to really show me, oh yeah, he's a 400 hitter. Yeah, okay. No, he's not a 400 hitter against lefties, even though that's what he's doing now. It's because he hasn't had really enough of a sample size to let it register on what he is. Brad Miller against lefties, not the worst thing in the world, but it just goes back to your team, your bench, and what you have on your roster when that is what is your best option on that given night. So, yeah, that just, it can't happen. And then we get to the 9th inning where you get a few guys on. You can make some noise. Gene Segura, leadoff double. That thing was smacked. That thing was smoked out in center field. You get the double, and you weren't really able to do much with it because, well, Bryce Harper had an ugly at-bat. Some of your top dogs not able to get that. Rhys Hoskins did. I'll be fair to Rhys Hoskins. He did to make it 1st and 3rd, but Bryce had a really bad day at the office. He had 3 swinging strikeouts, and in the 1st inning, there was a pop-up that happened out in right field, and he went backwards first and then realized he had to come in. It looked like a scenario that we saw out of Mickey Moniak, that we saw out of Adam Hazley early on in the year. And speaking about Adam Hazley, when I watched Rogers pitch, and I knew it was going to be a tough day at the office for the Phillies hitters, well, I knew Rogers was nasty. Let's go here. Because I thought that when I looked at the matchup and I realized that Rogers was going to go, in theory, it was going to be a nightmare for hitting. So normally when that happens, I figured that would be the night where the Phillies actually put up 9 because this team doesn't make much sense, and that's normally how it occurs. And then when you face some bum, when you face some nobody, you can't get on base for 7 innings, and maybe you have 1 or 2 hits, and it looks like you're going up against Nolan Ryan in his prime. So while I knew he was just gross and he was going to bring nasty stuff, I figured, well, because this team drives me crazy and it's hard to really get a full assessment, this would be the night where they're cruising and they're grabbing double-digit hits and they're knocking in runs left and right. Well, no, that didn't happen. But mentioning Adam Hazley's name, it makes me sick to my stomach, because this kid in Rogers, who can play, who can pitch his ass off, who's going to be absolutely phenomenal in this league, he went way after Adam Hazley in that draft. He went around 13. So just think about that. You go back to Adam Hazley, you go back to Mickey Moniak. The fact that this franchise can't get a real outfielder, you can't groom outfielders, that's crazy. Now look, Odubel Herrera at this point has somewhat solidified himself. He had another strong day on the diamond, and even defensively, I'm just way more calm with him out there where he's reading the baseball off of the bat, and he's structured, and he knows where to run, and he can feel the warning track, and he just has a sense of everything. And I know we're recently coming off of a game where Bryce Harper and Odubel banged into each other out in right center field. I don't anticipate seeing that very often, and you do see Odubel somewhat read the ball perfectly, get into an area, make the proper catch, throw the ball in, and we move on to the next play without having heart attacks and hesitating with someone not realizing where it is and putting his hands up as if he has no clue which way to run and he didn't see the ball off the bat whatsoever. I'm talking previously in this season. But yeah, Bryce Harper was just bad in this game, and I keep going back to there's physical problems with him. It's very noticeable. He's pressing as well. I know you're limited, and I know you don't have many options to do much, but something does have to occur with the Bryce Harper spot here that we have because it's not pretty to the eye, and it's starting to concern me, and I just don't love it. I don't love what we're experiencing out of him. Here's the top of the lineup and the top of the order for the Marlins, just in terms of hits. 1 hit, 1 hit, 1 hit, 2 hit, 2 hit. So based off of their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, their top 5 hitters, they have 7 hits on the board. That can't happen. I didn't love some of the defensive plays. I thought Alec Bohm probably had one of his worst defensive games, and that's saying a lot considering he does not know how to play strong defense at all. In the 6th inning, you got to make that play. It was to his right, and he had his glove turned over, but that's a play where it's smoked, and it's a hard-hit ball. You're a professional third baseman. Alec Bohm has to come up with that. Then, in the same exact inning, here he is making a mistake where a ball with the infield in gets hit towards Bohm, and it hits off the top of his glove, goes out to the outfield, and now they scored another run to tack it on, and now the Marlins have a lead more. It's, hey, what are we doing, Alec Bohm? And there was a previous play earlier in the game where he did make a nice jab at it with his backhand when it was going towards the line. It was right by the line, right by the third base line. He made a nice play. He set his feet. He knew he had time. He delivered a nice, calm throw to Rhys Hoskins over at first base. Slow runner, so he knew he had time. Things probably would have intensified a bit if it was someone with speed who was running really fast, and it would make you nervous, and maybe the throw would have been poor. Maybe he wouldn't have set his feet properly. Who knows? And from that moment on, he was bad. He was bad then, and he was bad at the dish as well, as he is 0 for 4 on the night with 2 strikeouts. And I threw up some Twitter clips of the game, and there were some reactions to the plays by Alec Bohm, and I think one woman said it best. When you process what Alec Bohm has been defensively, to think he's going to be some shutdown hot corner defender, that's not realistic. But you can make up for that with your strong hitting. If you're actually providing a good spark at the plate and you're driving in runs and you're just being a really good professional hitter like we've seen last year and at some moments this season, you would have a different feel on him, but that's not necessarily the case right now. So when it rains, it pours. He's not doing what he needs to in the batter's box. So when he's making those common mistakes in the field as well, it only drags him down more, and it only makes the pressure that much stronger, and it only makes our emotions as fans watching it that much more impactful and that much more hard-hitting, because we know he's not hard-hitting or hitting it hard at the plate either. So, yeah, I think that's kind of a fair way to look at it. And going back to Rogers, by the way, 7 2/3, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. He was a dog for sure. Zach Eflin, I gave him the not terrible player of the game. So he ended up going 6 innings, 6 hits, 0 walks, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. He did allow a home run to Anderson, and Brian Anderson just knows how to accomplish his goals against Zach Eflin. He's got fantastic numbers against him. He just knows everything about what Zach Eflin's going to do, and he sees it really well out of his hands. Brian Anderson's numbers, damage. He does damage against Zach Eflin specifically, so they take a 1-0 lead and all there. He had some really nice curveballs in play, a disgusting changeup. I think it was about the 3rd inning. He had 2 really nice strikeouts in that inning, utilizing his off-speed pitches. But I would give him the not terrible. I thought he was okay. Did he do enough to keep you in the ballgame? Sure, he did. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. It's not an egregious outing by any means, but I didn't think he had his full-on command, and I've seen him sharper, and I even heard him talk about that after the game where he would want some of his pitches back. He didn't love his location on all of them, and yeah, I mean, I think just looking at him and analyzing what he did do, I think the best way to kind of describe it is I've seen a sharper version of Zach Eflin, even though that the offense left guys stranded and the runners in scoring position once again failed this team. Getting that timely hit failed this team, which I feel like I've said that 6,000 times already, and we're only 43 games into the season. Everyone was kind of upset with Torreyes being in the lineup over Nick Maton, and I didn't love it, but I wasn't going to overreact and make it seem like that was going to change the game insanely. Nick Maton playing compared to Torreyes playing, Torreyes shut you the hell up because he had those 2 hits. One was really large with an 0-2 count, and on top of that, he made a big play in the 9th that did not end up being something special, but it could have been if the Phillies did end up tacking on that. Not even tacking on. It would have been demolishing the pitch that Garcia left for Andrew Knapp to smother. 9th inning, Rhys Hoskins makes a play over by the first baseline, goes to second base for a tag up to get the lead runner, and it was a very poor throw. Torreyes makes a wild, crazy play. It kind of reminded me of, you know how I always yell at Rhys Hoskins for being really bad on the hop and really bad with scooping balls, and Rhys Hoskins somewhat falls over, leans to the left, very unorthodox. His body doesn't look smooth when doing it, and it's just not the way it's drawn up, but he gets the job accomplished. Well, it reminded me, Torreyes' play here reminded me of that. He makes a play. Who knows? It could have went out into the outfield. It could have advanced a runner. It could have just kept the runner at second base instead of going to third. If they were to tack on more runs there, the Marlins, that whole Andrew Knapp scenario plays out differently as well, and we don't feel as if it was as close as it was towards the end, or, you know, who knows? Who knows what could have happened? If the Phillies would have won, you could have looked back at that Torreyes play. I bring that up because I thought Torreyes had a very, very strong day, and I thought the overreaction to Nick Maton not playing, I get it. Nick Maton's been fun to watch. There's been some buzz with him, and he has had some nice, solid hits. It's a good watch, for sure. He's been seizing the moments. Was that the difference in winning or losing this baseball game? No. And I didn't think that was the case even entering the night when seeing the lineup. I think I knew exactly what Joe Girardi was doing. You also saw Torreyes come back from how many games being missed with COVID and not being able to play whatsoever, and then he gets a really big hit the night before. Maybe there's something to getting Torreyes in a groove, getting Torreyes to see some pitches, and having him confident while doing that is the best way to apply it. So get him back into the lineup as quickly as possible. And with Rogers on the mound, maybe Joe Girardi analyzed it and said, Torreyes might be that better shot for me tonight. Let's do it. And he wasn't wrong with that assessment. Another storyline in this game is when Joe Girardi decided to go to the bullpen. I guess, let me rephrase that. Not when, who he brought in. So Kinsler was the move. And I think it's funny that now he's getting bashed for it. It should have been Coonrod the whole time. Last night, when he brought in Alvarado, I had one individual tweet out to me, and I remember trying to look for the tweet when we did last night's post-game show. Could not find it, so I just gave you the memo, and I gave you what was paraphrased. The tweet was, how come Joe Girardi didn't put in Kinsler? How come Joe Girardi didn't put in Coonrod? How come Joe Girardi didn't put in anyone except for Jose Alvarado? Now he puts in Kinsler, a name that was on that list. And now all of a sudden it's why didn't he put in Coonrod? You can't have it all these ways. Yeah, Coonrod was awesome. It was bases loaded. I couldn't stand what Kinsler did. He couldn't even throw to Rogers properly. And then Joe Girardi had to come out and say, dude, throw something fast right down the middle of the dick of the plate. And what ends up happening is Rogers squares one up and puts one through to make it another single in a row. And he could have had his first MLB hit prior, but Rhys Hoskins had a stellar dive over at first base and read the ball really well off the bat. Full extension, went out and grabbed it to rob him of his first MLB hit, so he ends up getting it later anyway. Kinsler was a disaster. Once again, though, I don't have an issue with it. It's so easy afterwards to say, oh, you should have went to Coonrod first. I go through this all the time with everyone. These group of pitchers, they're in the same tier. It's just about them executing. Kinsler, Alvarado, Archie Bradley, Coonrod, Hector Neris, they're all in the same category of pitchers. Let's not act like one of these guys is by far insanely superior. That going to one pitcher is just mind-blowing. Now, I'm not talking about David Hale. I'm not talking about Matt Moore. I'm talking about some of these other pitchers in there. All right, I'm talking about that group, that major core involved that we constantly discuss. Kinsler didn't have it today. He had it in other moments that got you excited. He did not today. It's not some mind-numbing thing. It's not some body-numbing spot for Joe Girardi to put in Kinsler. It didn't work. Coonrod came in, though, and for him to get out of it only allowing one run, absolutely magnificent. Now, of course, there's controversy surrounding that one run. The one run came on a dribbler down the third base line. Andrew Knapp, I guess he did everything he could there. It was a weird, wonky hit that just dribbled and kept going. You were hoping maybe it would trickle foul, but it wasn't really close to it. No one was covering home, but there wasn't anyone to get to home that fastly. I'm not saying anyone should have been there to cover. It was just a really awkward play, an awkward hit. Did Cooper run out of the base path, though? I think maybe, but I'm not pissed off that wasn't changed, or I'm not pissed off that was the call. And I know you're going to think about what happened with Andrew McCutchen. Yeah, Andrew McCutchen's call was just brutal, however many games ago, where he ran a straight line. He did not move out from the path for 1 inch, not even 1 centimeter. But if that's the threshold, if that's what we're comparing it to, well, that's not reality. That's an outlier. That's just an abysmal call. That doesn't really correlate with many of these other calls. You don't use that as the guideline. Did I think he went out of the base path? You could make the argument if they called it. I could see why they called it. If they didn't call it, I could see why they didn't call it. So I'm not outraged by it. But, of course, there was controversy from it. I couldn't care less what they called, to be honest with you. Like, it is what it is. I could see it going both ways. If it was the Phillies, I would have probably been upset if they called that running out of the base path. So if it happens to the other team, I guess I need to realize that, well, I would want it to stay as a scored run if it was my team that ran that same specific route. So I got to keep it 100 as well. I guess what I have the problem is not being able to challenge it. The fact that that's unreviewable because of the nature of the play, I think that upsets me the most. I'm proud of Coonrod, though. I'm not upset at all that Joe Girardi went with Kinsler instead. It just didn't work out. That's what it is. It didn't work out. It wasn't the decision to put him in. That's what I judge. Did the decision make sense? I have no problems with it. Sure. I've seen Kinsler succeed. I've seen Kinsler. It's funny. Everyone talks about Hector Neris can't be the guy. And when it was discussed on who should be in that role instead, the answer wasn't Jose Alvarado. The answers were between Kinsler because he's done it before and Coonrod. So the guy that you wanted to close games out because Hector Neris was sloppy in other areas and in plenty of moments throughout his tenure here in Philadelphia. Oh, he's good enough to be the closer, but now all of a sudden you need him to go out into the 7th inning, and now we can't trust him there, and it was such a trash decision by the manager. No, stop it. Just because it works or doesn't work, it doesn't automatically mean that the mindset and the philosophy heading into that decision was flawed. It comes down to the players actually have to make their pitches, and Kinsler did not do that tonight. What you need to do, though, is go to DeSimone Jewelers in Haddonfield, New Jersey. My fiance's engagement ring is so gorgeous, and it was so in my ballpark of price range thanks to DeSimone Jewelers. And the fact that they manufacture every ring, they start right there. They start and finish it right there on location. And because of that, they can compete with all of the competitors' prices out there, and they win. They win that battle, unlike the Phillies tonight. They're in Haddonfield, New Jersey. They're a family-owned business with over 40 years of experience. They do not use sale tactics. They show you their options, and they educate you, and they treat you like family. I've sent so many family members and friends in their direction, and I constantly get back the same reaction. Wow, they are incredible. Thank you so much for showing me DeSimone Jewelers. I go, no problem. No problem. I'm a man of the people. I'm here for you. So that's why I need to express my love for DeSimone Jewelers to everybody listening, because I'm a man of the people. I want you to get the most bang for your buck. I need you to get the most beautiful ring, most beautiful necklace, most beautiful earrings for your significant other when it comes to the product you're getting, A+. And when you tie the financial side of it to that, you're going to be blown away. DeSimone Jewelers, Haddonfield, New Jersey. Information all down below in the description. All right, why don't we head on over to the Anytime Hotline real quickly on some other bullpen pieces. Connor Brogdon, he continues to take strides into, just being comfortable again. And how about Ranger Suarez? Had some nice pitches on the inside part of the plate. I thought he was painting some corners at times. So good for Ranger Suarez for whatever that's worth. I don't know what that's worth, but for whatever it's worth, good for Ranger Suarez. All right, let's kick things off with the Anytime Hotline.
What's up, Brodes? We're going to have the Phillies lose the Marlins 3-1. Man, if they're not going to hit the ball, this will be a whole different call. But that one pitcher, I don't think he's pretty bad. I mean, he did allow some bad pitches, but I think he pitched a fine game, to be honest. But, man, Trevor Rogers is a stud, dude. That guy, he is nasty stuff. And our hitters were just missing everything. But I think the game was pretty good overall. I mean, the Phillies only came up one big hit short. Kinsler allowed 3 singles, and 2 were baby singles down the line, which was stupid. But that's how it goes. Try to win the series tomorrow. Go Phils.
Yeah, if you win the series tomorrow, this game is somewhat a wash for me. And it's, okay, it is what it is. You're not going to sweep every single series. It would be nice to take control of an in-division rival that you should be able to pounce on and really murder every opportunity that you get. But ultimately, if you take control tomorrow, you win 2 out of 3, that's your job. Win each series. So that's your job. Win 2 out of 3. Win 3 out of 4 in some of these 4-game sets. That's what the goal needs to be, so do that. If you fall, especially at home, it's going to sting more for sure. So I don't know how I'm going to feel until we see it play out the way that it does. But, yeah, I mean, the way that you analyze it's interesting. You looked at it as, well, they were 1 hit away. They were just that Andrew Knapp hit away from winning this baseball game. And you're not wrong. I think that's a very white and black way to look at it. It's a very this or that way to look at it. I think there's so much more to analyze in this game. As I alluded to, that 3rd inning where you had Odubel and you had Torreyes up on base and Zach Eflin couldn't move things over, and you brought up that Kinsler inning with the 3 singles. Well, guess what? They had 2 men on and their pitcher up at the plate. So they had the same exact scenario as the Phillies did, yet one team got the hit from the pitcher. The other team could not even bunt their guys over. And that goes to show, even though, their mentality and approach with it was to move the runners over, it's 2021 baseball. The Marlins swung. They had their pitcher swinging. And I know that when you watch Joe Girardi walk up to the mound and speak to Kinsler, it's somewhat of a message. It's coming. The heat is coming. Don't be throwing that off-speed stuff to give them more time to maybe place the bunt down so they can see it with the pitch being slower. So I think that Rogers knew that. He's going to come down the pipe with it. He's just going to try and throw gas so I can try and barrel it up if I want to and He did. And it's funny, when Rhys Hoskins robbed him originally, the first thing I thought of was Tommy Hunter's excitement. Because if you didn't see it, Tommy Hunter got his first MLB hit the other day. I think it was yesterday. And his emotion, his joy, his excitement, he was like a baby. He really was. He was like a little child getting his first hit in Little League. That's probably what Rogers was thinking when Rhys dove and robbed him and just stole that one away from him. God damn it. God damn it. Well, he cashed in later on. That's for damn sure. Disappointing loss, though. I just see it a little bit differently. I don't see it as they were one hit away. I see it as bottom third, nope. Bottom eighth, nope. Ninth inning, nope. Winnable baseball game. Winnable baseball game. And as well as Rogers did pitch, I thought that there were pitches that this team just didn't see right. And maybe you give credit to Rogers for that, guessing different pitches. Couldn't really figure out his tendencies, but there were drivable baseballs that just were not driven. For
the second time this year, the Phillies hit a ball that would pretty much be a home run on any other night, but apparently it's just not the night for the Phillies. But overall, just very disappointing loss. Can't blame the pitching whatsoever, but I will put the spotlight on two guys. One, Bryce Harper. This is probably the only truly bad game he's played all year. And Alec Bohm, which he needs to seriously get it figured out in a hurry. So those two guys, in my opinion, were the really big reasons why we lost this game.
I don't know if I could put the blame once again on two people. I feel that's very similar to what I just said with the previous caller, where it's too this or that. It's too black or white. It's too like one extreme or the other. We lost because of those two. We didn't really lose just because of those two, because that means that Kinsler's not getting any blame, and that means that some of these other guys, Eflin not putting down the bunt, doesn't get any blame. There's so many things that you can look at throughout the 9 innings, and they were cumulative. I don't know why that didn't sound right, but you get my point. They were all packaged together with the problem here with tonight's loss. But that doesn't mean Harper and Bohm don't have a portion of this. They absolutely do. For Harper to be the leader, the emotional leader, the physical leader, to be the guy in the clubhouse that everybody looks up to, and to have that type of mental lapse when you know this team is a disaster in the field, and you know that they don't engage in the sport of baseball the right way defensively, you can't let that happen to you as well. You're supposed to be the one to shut that off. You're supposed to be the one to calm everybody down. You're supposed to be the one that we expect to make the right simple plays so that nobody else does, because you lead. They look up to you. So now that you're just moving back 5 feet before you start charging in, well, that's a bad message to the rest of the team. And then the strikeouts with the 3Ks swinging. It happens. There's plenty of nights where Bryce Harper doesn't see the ball right. But I think that a lot of this has to do with the injury side of things for him also. Now, you talked about the Andrew Knapp almost homer. There is a side of this, too, though, for the Marlins. And it reminds me of, remember I think it was the first series when Aaron Nola was at home. Dansby Swanson should have went yard. It didn't go yard. Freddie Freeman should have went yard, and it stayed in. Well, you're right. Andrew Knapp's ball did not go out, and it could have. And it's a warm night. You would think on a warm night the ball would really travel. That shows you how much he missed it by just a little half of an inch, I'm sure. In that 6th inning, where Bo made all of those defensive problems happen, Andrew McCutchen made a catch at the warning track, and Odubel Herrera made a catch all the way at center field, right at the warning track, right in front of the wall. So you're right. Andrew Knapp's could have went over. I count 2 that I remember right off the top of my head in that 6th inning that the Marlins probably could have put over as well. And just that night, just that type of night for the baseball, sometimes they're cruising through, and sometimes they're really gliding through the air, and then other nights they stop just short, and that so happened to be what happened today, except for if your name is, I'm drawing a blank, Anderson, Brian Anderson. Got a hold of one off Eflin. Oppo Taco out to right field. All right, before we head out of here, it's playoff time. Big stakes, bigger promotions. It's time to hammer the over and score some cash. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you a chance to lower the over-under on a featured playoff game. All players who place a bet on the featured basketball game will have a hand in lowering the over-under on the game. That's right. For every 1,500 players who bet the over on the select game, the over-under will drop by 1 point. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to hammer the over. For every 1,500 people that bet on the over in the feature game, the line will decrease by 1 point. Yes, this is your chance to improve the odds of the over hitting. So tell your friends and family this is a team effort. Hammer the over and improve your odds of doubling your money. That's promo code Brodes for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. Max $25 wager, one per customer. Offer ends May 23rd in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's see if they can finish the job tomorrow. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time.